None of you knew. That was the title of a Wilhelm message that I received on March the 28th of 2024. And Wilhelm always gives me information ahead of time. And this is something that's really challenging to explain, but just think that we exist in our consciousness. We have different abilities that we can develop, and mine was to develop a way to access a higher state of consciousness that caused me to bring in all of this work from Wilhelm. And that was something that was really challenging for me to explain because it didn't even make sense to me how I was able to do that. But I want you to understand it because you have more ability than you could possibly know. And especially it might be coming about at this time in our world because we're moving through energetic changes. Everything is energy, and we start to understand that. Wilhelm told me that and gave us all the information. So when I got up and I wanted to look at, well, what did they say last year? And that was the title of the message, saying none of us knew how this world was going to look at this time, why we would be seeing everything that we are. And none of us knew that they had given us everything. I didn't know that Wilhelm had given me a full philosophy, but that is what has happened, which is why I'm changing and putting it all out into the world as we are moving through these changes. But first, I would like for you to come to the channeling session on the new moon that's going to happen on Saturday. Please register if you can't be there because of time. Just show up, just register. We'll send you the information because it will explain everything as they already explained everything last year. When I went to that session to look at this message, you can find it on the website on anyadvicefortoday.com, and it was for March the 28th of 2004. And they said, please listen to the session from the year before in April in 2023, because there's an alignment of information that they have given me. And as you listen to that one, you will understand that everything is connected as you are connected. And you might be feeling uncomfortable now because you're being asked to let go of whatever you've been hiding from and become who you're meant to be. And that's what we're doing on the new moon. But if you listen to this session, I will put it at the end of this so you can have it. It's like an hour long, but you can listen to as much as you like because you will hear exactly what's going on now, and it will give you such greater comfort and understanding. But please register for the next session because you will understand so much more, and it's time for you to become your best self and live your best life. See you there. Welcome, everyone. We will get started in just a second. And today we have a treat, and we're going to have Yarna give us a opening meditation. Yarna is a part of our group. He's a part of our staff, as is Stan. So we wanted to have the entire team here today to bring in this information. The floor is yours, Yarna.
All right. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure being here and being able to share the time on this planet, this present moment with you, and the love that all connects us, or that connects us all. Okay. I ask you to close your eyes if you have not done so. I will do the same now. Just be gentle with yourself whilst you're receiving new information, whilst you're opening yourself up to all the new downloads that come through, opening yourself up to the love and the light that you're made, and that is now and always available to you. Focus on the chest, focus in the area around your chest, where your heart is receiving and giving beautiful green energy. Maybe visualize the color green, maybe feel what's going on in that area for yourself. And also, if you don't feel anything, this is also perfectly natural and okay as it is. Just focus for a moment, maybe even smile to your heart, and set the intention to be able to receive what's best for you, to receive what's aligned with your soul's purpose, to receive all the information that you need right now to move forward and to create your best reality, to move forward, to love yourself unconditionally and to love the world around you, to share your gifts with the world, because they are yours and we wait to receive your gifts. Each one of us is special. Each one of you is special. And I ask you now to own that you are created beautifully as we all are, that there's no difference between you and me, rather than the unique expression that we bring to this world to create shifts. So I ask you, what is your unique gift? And what are you here to share? The time that you spend now here with us might be beneficial for you to gain the answers that you need. Set the intention to allow all of those answers just to come to you. And also, when you're not yet consciously aware of it, believe that your subconscious and your unconscious have all the answers that you need now and always. I ask you also to tap into your third eye chakra, which is between your eyebrows. When you feel a vibration, perfect. If don't, perfect as well. And from the center of your forehead, just connect with me, connect with Roger, connect with Stan, connect with everyone else in the room, also if you don't know the participants. Send your best wishes to each one of us. Share with us your love, share with us your light, and let's start listening to what the conversation brings to us. Thank you all for being here. Much love from my side, and thanks for taking the time.
Thank you so much, and we are ready to begin, and we're so pleased you're here. And as we always say, we have waited for you your entire lives. Now, you will understand that today, because today is a very special day that you could not have known. Roger didn't even know what this day would have meant, and we just urged him, you have to do it today. You must understand that you exist at a time in your world that has never occurred. This is why you're here. You agreed to be alive at this time, to bring in your light, your love, your essence, because that is what's going to shift your world into a new paradigm, a new dimension, and that is why you're all here. Every one of you has something to offer, and it's tied up in your individual lives, whatever you have lived. It's all quite perfect, which is what we have told you. Now, the reason that we said today is very special because this particular event has not occurred in your world since 2005. Now, 2005 was the time that we awakened Roger to his role, which he kind of put away in the closet. Each of you have done that to a degree. You've put away something that was within you because you didn't believe it. You didn't know that you have this kind of value, but you do. And you were supposed to bring that importance, your essence, to the world now, because this shift, again, has never occurred, which is why it's been so confusing and chaotic, as we have said to you many, many times. Now, we have a message on the screen. We want to tell you something. You are always in the right place. Nothing has ever happened in your life accidentally. You are not an accident. None of your events, none of your circumstances were ever accidental. Now, the other day, we had Roger go back and find a message. He always finds a message that we want to use on a particular day because we use dates. That is one of the things that we have given him to kind of clue in, because we use your human terms, your calendar, even though linear time is very limited because everything is happening in the present moment. Everything is happening now. But we use linear time because that's the way that humans keep track of things. And so what we are saying is that Roger thought, well, he was hiding out a little bit. He's been doing that for a while. We're saying that because all of you have done that to a degree. You inch into yourselves, and it's always in your consciousness. Everything that we have given you is about changing your consciousness to a higher state so that you can accept your importance. But in order to move to that place, you must move through all the old things. This is what you're doing now, and this is what your world is doing. This is why it's so chaotic and frightening to some of you, but we're saying it's going to be wonderful when you understand what we have given you. You've never been wrong. You've never been punished. You just didn't understand what you had agreed to do, because each of you made an agreement before you were born. We understand that it's challenging to think about your other lives, but you've always had them, your eternal spiritual beings. And we thought that maybe if we could bring all of this information through to you, and we could place a person in front of you who's 72 years old and who's moved through everything that you have. He's moved through every difficulty, every challenge. He's died, almost died many, many times, but he's here and he's reverse aging now. This is the work that we've given you. It's all mindset, and we've done it for years. Now, he said many times that it was 1988. Many of you have these different ideas about dates. It's well beyond that. This is something that has been within him all throughout his entire existence. But in this lifetime, he agreed to move through these issues or problems or difficulties or challenges that he's had in his life so that he could bring this information through. And as we've said, this is a new philosophy because it's a new world that you're all moving into, and you have to understand that you have to operate differently. And the way that you operate differently is that you drop all the old stuff. We gave you a message about ascension because that's what you're doing and that's what your world is doing. And the only way you can ascend is if you let go of your old baggage, if you let go of your old doubts, of your old fears, thinking you did something wrong. You never did anything wrong. You were learning how to get to this moment to bring forth your essence in a much bigger way, because that will move your planet forward. This is a planetary ascension. None of you have experienced this, so you couldn't have known what was occurring. Many of you have had these challenging life experiences. We know some of you have been, and you were almost ready to give up. This is why we keep sending you certain messages. No, you can't give up now. You're just getting started, because you have so much more to do in bringing in more of your light that's going to help move your world forward. Now, we're doing it on this day because you haven't had this configuration galactically. We want you to understand that this has never occurred in your world. So give yourselves a break, because you're judging yourself. Why am I all over the place? Why am I feeling these things? Well, you've never experienced them before. This is why we've given you a guide. We said this is an ascension guide, and it's a mindset course. You have never moved through anything in your life until you start using your consciousness, your mind, to move to another level so you can see things in a new light. When you do that, you start to see everything differently. You see your world differently. You stop hating yourselves. You stop hating others, because you understand this is a process of you all attempting to move to oneness. But to get there, you have to move through some barriers. And as we've said, the United States would lead the way, which none of you could really understand. But we're bringing it up again today because in this next week, you will see more movement. And it may seem chaotic and frightening. We wanted you to understand it's purposeful and it's for the greater good of all that is. That's why you're here. Your life is that. Each one of you have moved through things in your life that you've gained so much value that you have not recognized. And when you do, you start to move to a new dimension of you. And that's what the world is needing now. You have a collective consciousness. That collective consciousness is created by you, each of you. And then you create a collective one. You put in your energy, which is either going to be of higher vibrational thinking, that's light and love, or lower vibrational thinking, which means that you're going to doubt yourself, you're going to hate yourself, you're going to go and hate others, and there you're not going to change anything. As we have said, the world that you want to see is not guaranteed. You're in the process of creating that now, and you have about another year or so before you can see everything kind of settling out and looking a little bit different. But if you do the kind of work that we're giving you, you're going to be there. We've said that, and it's challenging for all of you to accept what you have. It was challenging for Roger to believe that we had given him all of this work and we did it before. His life was one that he decided, and he didn't know why he was doing it. None of you know why you're doing something. You're not consciously aware of it all the time. But he started saving every single message that we have given him since 1988. We have given him enough information that he could create a what you the equivalent of your Bible, let's say, which many of you use. However, it's different in this time because it's new. We have given you something new. One of the members of our program said on one of our testimonials, because Roger doesn't ever look at these things, but they said, I've never done anything like this. No, none of you have, because this is different. But we will also say that some of you give up. We've watched many of you. You go so far, and you start uncovering things and it becomes challenging and difficult, and then you stop until you hit the jackpot. And the jackpot is that you start ascending to higher states of being of who you are, and you miraculously, you start healing things. We've given you a person who has healed everything in his body. He's healed everything because we saw his resistance was holding it back. Now, it's different for every single person. You may have some physical things going on that will not be healed in this realm, but that's okay. If you heal emotionally, spiritually, that's why you're here. Every path is different. Your path is unique and it's purposeful and it was meant for you. You see, but we want you to appreciate you couldn't have known this. You exist in the world at a dynamic time, and it's going to be a bit more of that. This is why we're bringing more of you together, and we've added a couple of more people to the recent configuration of what we're bringing in, because Roger can't do this. You all are supposed to collaborate, and so we're making it bigger, because you need a big movement at this time that needs to be big and bold, and that's within each of you. And so what we've been doing is trying to keep encouraging you to keep moving, because you will see that when you break through those last barriers of doubting yourself, judging yourself, or feeling you're insignificant, then your world will change. You have that much ability. We gave you a message some time ago where we said, you are forming your world, and the only challenge you have is believing that somehow you weren't significant enough to cause that to happen. All of you are born equal. Why would you think that you didn't have the essence, the ability to completely transform your world? The only difference in any of you have in any from your great leaders is your consciousness, your level of belief in who you could be. That's all. And we've said that because we use Roger as the example again, because we gave him a dream in 2005, which is the last time this eclipse happened. We want you to understand that. In 2005. And so then he kept putting it away. Let's hide this. Oh no, I can't be this leader who's going to help others. And then we said, yes, you have to. And this is why we're making moves in his program, because you're moving into a dynamic time where this work that we've given you all needs to be going to a greater audience. And we've just made a connection with another part of the world that we want this to go to, because this is a global change. You all have been kind of isolated in your own little communities, your cities, your countries, and you've made others enemies. You are supposed to bring things together. So we're making this much bigger now. But our main purpose for each of you was to cause you to love yourselves. That's what it is. You have no idea how powerful that is. When you start to bring in the energy of love into your bodies, you will heal so much. First, it'll happen in your physical bodies, then it'll happen in your mental, emotional bodies, and then it happens in your ethereal bodies, which is the ascension that you're all moving to now. That's why we've done all of this. It was never accidental. It just shows up at the time that is appropriate. We want to talk about age. The reason that we had Yarna open with the meditation, because we've talked to you, a year and a half ago, we talked to you about child prodigies. That means, because we wanted you to understand consciousness, you see, some people come into your world and you've noticed them, but you don't figure out why they have these abilities. They come in with a different sense of awareness, and there are many in your world now who are having this, because they've been given many different names. You can use whichever ones you want. However, you do notice them. Sometimes you can only pay attention to them when we're doing things like playing instruments or musical things, and you think, how did that kid have this ability? It's consciousness again. And as we said, we gave you this in January 1st, 2012, infinite intelligence. You all have it. You all have access to it. However, you only allow yourselves to access a certain amount. And as you access that amount, then you have to allow it to integrate into your body, assimilate, so that it becomes part of you. And then there's another level for you to access. Because we have given Roger all this information for all these years, he reached a super consciousness that he could see so much more This is why he can never judge you. He can see exactly what you're moving through because he's done it. And he knows that his role was to guide all of you. And he gets frustrated at times because he sees you not moving. He sees you not believing in yourself, but that's also a reflection of what he didn't do. You all have that. You're each equal in that movement. But now is a different time in your lives and in your world because it's a greater shift. And again, the more of you who understand this, you won't even believe the world that you're going to create and the lives that you will live because of it. Because see, the world can't become this utopia, beautiful place unless it first starts to manifest in your lives. And so everything that we have given you from the beginning of our information was to cause you to look at yourselves in an entirely new way, because it's all consciousness again, and all of you use mindset now. We've given you the best mindset course that you could ever use. And we've said this, and Roger had trouble saying this, but he knows, and we've proven it today in a group call, because as they were speaking, someone would say something, and Roger would say, oh, yes. We would tell him, actually, oh, yes, we gave you that message. You need to go and find it. It's right there. There's nothing that you could move through in your consciousness that we have not given you. We've given you absolutely everything. Your insecurities, we told you how to move through that. Your fear of who you are, feeling insignificant, we gave you ways of moving through that. We've given you everything because it's all in your consciousness. There's nothing more than that. And some time ago, we had Roger say, well, we're giving you the thing that's the most important. See, because you try to do things in your lives where you have not come into ownership of who you are, so it makes it challenging. It's an energetic shift, you see, and the energetic shift has to happen within you. When you're constantly fighting against yourselves, then you're putting in an energy that is blocking the flow of abundance to come to you, and that's what we want to talk about as well, because someone contacted us today, and they said, well, I awakened in 2012 as well, and they knew this and was very aware of it, but they felt like everything fell off. And now they said, but we can't manifest anything now. Well, because now is the time that you're supposed to. And the way that you manifest anything is by raising your consciousness. When you raise your consciousness through the blockages that you've put up, you start magically, it feels to you that way, and it's not magic at all. It's just a natural flow of events that happens when you move through to the next evolutionary level in your life. And as we have said, there's no hierarchy of souls. You're all equal. You just decide what levels you're going to exist at in your lifetime, and then you move to the next one. You're always doing that. But in this particular lifetime, you decided to be alive because if you were to move through your blockages, your doubts, your fears, your judgments, and your biases, we want to talk about that because that's what's going on now. And you're going to see much more of it in the next several weeks. And so we wanted you to be aware. We're going to go back to some astrological things, because when you study your astrology, you will understand that there's an energetic shift that is happening in the world that's never occurred. And you're moving through a period which happens all the time, which is called Mercury in retrograde. And so that's why you might be a little agitated. You might fly off the handle. Others might do that. You might react. You need to be aware of this period. It's a cleansing that you're all moving through, and your planet is moving through it. And so, yes, it could be a little tricky because these configurations, an eclipse, a new moon, and then Mercury in retrograde. Who could have planned that? Your universe did, to cause you to come to own who you are, to love yourself, so that you can create the world that you're all here to do. We've said many times, you are here now to usher in a new world. And your life experiences have given you the ability to do that when you interpret them in a new way and find the joy that can come out of everything that you've moved through. Now, we understand that many of you have had experiences that you've judged yourself, and this is the biggest problem. You've judged yourself so harshly that you can't find the wisdom and the knowledge that came through that. You all do it. We had Roger pull out something that he began writing probably a couple of years ago, and it's about his entire story, and then he stopped because he thought no one's going to understand or believe this. And he still had some shame and guilt about all of that and embarrassment. And we're saying, well, tell people what you did. We're saying this to all of you because, see, you have things that you've moved through that you've accomplished, and you're embarrassed about it and you're shameful or whatever it is, except not understanding that you agreed to move through those things because now they're out of your existence, they're out of your evolutionary journey, and they're also out of the collective, you see. when you move through anything that's challenging and difficult, your world appreciates that. Your world benefits from what you are able to move through. You're moving through a time in the world where there's a split, and as many of you have said, the darkness and the light and all of that. We choose to use the light. We know that you are light, and if you bring that in, the darkness will never hit you. It will never be there, and it won't affect what you're doing. And the other part of this, as we spoke to the other person this morning about 2012, you can't manifest anything. Change your consciousness. That's all that it is. When you open up and move through your blockages, that consciousness will change. And we've had to do the same thing with Roger, because he's had a long history of holding himself back because he's always trying to help everyone else, which many of you have done. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a noble thing that you have done. However, this is a different time. Money has no meaning in your world except the meaning that you give it, because it's energetic, you see. And if you're judging yourself, if you're thinking you did everything wrong, you can't allow the flow of money to come to you. So we've given you processes in ways of moving through that to open up that flow, because that's what's needed in your world. Currently, there are many things happening in your world, and as we said, we asked you so long ago to stop burning down your planet, because you're not understanding how all of this, and there are many in your world says, oh, well, this is just happening. Humans don't have anything to do with it. You have something to do with everything, and that's all the weather. There are places that are happening, parts of your world where people are starving to death. There's no reason for that, because there's an abundance of everything, except you've hoarded things in different parts of your world, which is why you needed a restructuring, as we've told you. And you've done the same thing with individuals. You've kept certain people down because you judged them and you thought they weren't enough. And many of you are here to carry that legacy forth because it's ingrained within you. There are systemic beliefs that have been limiting that are within each of you. That's why your planet looks the way that it does. So the more of you who decide that you're going to move through your limitations, then your planet starts to change. And we had Roger see something today, and we want you to understand this. There are people in Africa who are starving, who have nothing, because more of you have not paid attention to the environment, and so they're being drowned out, and they can't even grow food. This is why we want more of you to be prosperous, and the first person we're starting with is Roger, because he's held back this information. We told you 2 years ago. We've given him something that's so incredibly valuable that it could change the lives of so many, but he wouldn't change the amount of money because of his long-held belief in inferiority. We're saying that because you each have that to a degree. When we put in our program, we talked about Alfred Adler, because that is the thing that many of you have. This is a great philosopher, but he talked about, and many didn't understand it at the time, he talked about this inferiority that many of you have. None of you are inferior to anything. It's just you have a different path that you're supposed to walk on. What we have given you is something that is so universal, and everyone asks us, who is this? Who is this for? Who's this work for? This work is for anyone who wants to reach the next level of their existence and prosper. That's what it's for, because you will use your mind. It's a mindset, as we've told you. You use your mind to move through the limitations that are instilled within you. You all come in with them. You're born with them. There's not a single human who is born without the limitation. If that weren't true, you would have no evolution at all. Your world would look exactly the same way it did, 3,000 years ago. It does not, because you each come in and you offer something, but can only come through you. And you have examples, and Roger is this master who's brought in this information, and he could only have done that if he had worked through all of his ego issues. This is why he had to let go of all the material, physical things, because when you understand that's not who you are, that you are much more than that, then you can really prosper. Then you can give more to others. And that's what we're doing. We had one goal with this work, and it was to bring it to all of you during this time. We knew where you would be. We knew where you would be. Even though we're just showing you one message of 2008, we started giving to far beyond that in terms of your human years. But it was for this time. And then there's going to be more, because you're going to have another movement coming up in May 5th. We've already told Roger he needs to do another session then, because he's a Scorpio. He's about transformation, a double Scorpio. He's about transformation. When you understand that many of you don't look at astrology, and that's fine. However, understand that you are connected energetically. And the time that you came onto the planet, there was an energetic configuration that was a part of your divine plan, because you each have one, and it's honorable. There is not a single person who doesn't have a wonderful divine plan, which is why we have that on our message. You couldn't have understood that, and you couldn't have known. Now, we're bringing this up because, see, Roger started to go back to find the message that he wanted to use for today, and he didn't go far enough. He said, oh, well, here's 2000. Well, let's go to 2012. We said, no, keep going. He had this in his computer. He just didn't keep going back far enough. None of you have done that. In terms of your consciousness, you have memories. You've been connected to all those who've come before, and you have a wealth of information within you and value that you're meant to bring to the world. And we have to talk about this because we had Roger find a message, a channeling session that we did on the 16th of last year of April, and he listened to that and he goes, "Oh no. Why I didn't share this? Why didn't anybody hear this?" And which we had talked about everything. We're saying this because you each have done that. And we want you to understand you cannot judge yourself. You will always find more things about who you are because you're an ever-evolving being. There's always going to be more. So if you start to beat yourself up, why didn't I see that before? Then you're holding yourself back because that's a lower vibrational energy. You're supposed to appreciate what you're discovering, own it, embrace it, embody it so that you can do more. And there's going to be so much more happening in your world. Now, the divisions that are going to come up in many different ways, and we're talking about women now as well, because you have, throughout your civilizations, you've never made women equal. How did you come up with that? How did you end up with that? And this particular period, the feminine energy needs to be much more present in your world. The men have to start to adapt and embody that and allow it to be okay. This is why we have you go into your emotions, because men have this old, long-stemming, masculine thing going on, which you think you can't feel. Yes, you're supposed to. Your emotions are valuable because they take you to understanding who you are. And then you use other people, and we gave you a message about that other people, and you'll see that on our site, that on this date and a different time, we talked about other people. You use other people to come to understand who you are, which is why we're going so much into relationships in our work that we're giving you, because it's an important part of it now. And especially you're going to see people that you're going to vehemently, you're going to disagree with so much, and you're going to be tempted to hate them. And this is what we've said all along. No, you can't do that. See, because then you're not understanding what was within you. That's the only reason you're seeing the stuff that you're hating, because it has existed within you probably throughout your eternity. But this is the change that you wanted to see. And it's happening right now. It's happening at this moment. And that nothing is accidental. When we first heard Roger to do this particular session, he kind of thought it was a different date and all this. And then magically, it got switched around, and then we had Stan get involved, because that's all they think, oh, something's happening accidentally. Never. The time that we plan this is the exact time for your eclipse, because we wanted the energy of this now. We wanted you to understand the dynamic. Many of you have been a little afraid, and people today were feeling all this energy. And there was one person that called and says, "I don't know what's happening. I'm feeling all this energy moving all over the place." Yes, you're supposed to. And then they said, "I have this big thing that's happening on Friday." Perfect, because it's the thing that you've been waiting for. And if you embrace it, it will happen. You're at a time where you each have access to immense energy that could not only cause your lives to be so much better, but also your world. But we can't cause you to do that. You have to make the choice yourself. Now, and then many of you will hide out. Roger's done that. We've talked about it so much because we want you to relate. We want you to understand, because many of you have been, you've felt this. You said, "I'm supposed to do this thing, but I don't know if I'm the one." And then you start believing in this imposter syndrome, which we've said none of you have. It's just a level of consciousness that you keep changing to accept what you've been given. God gave you everything. You would, those sayings, "Oh, God wouldn't give you anything you couldn't have." That is true. You don't receive anything you cannot achieve. It all is in your mind. And we gave you Napoleon Hill so that he could give you that phrase, "What the mind of man can conceive, he can achieve." But it's the mind, you see. And then you start to understand your importance, and you start moving through the blockages, and then you start to love yourself. That's the entire process. And the more of you who do that, because there's not enough right now, which is why we've been anxious about this for years, and not anxious, but we've been a little insistent, because it takes a while for some of you to kind of like, oh, maybe I can move now. Maybe I can start owning myself. Maybe I can start moving to another dimension. And that's what you're all going to do. And it's going to be wonderful once you start seeing it. However, we want you to please accept the fact that the junk has got to come up. You're not going to change anything that you can't see. And in your world, because you're all affected by what happens in your world, by your leaders, the ones that you think are leading everything, except you are the leaders. And now you're coming to understand that, because this is a shift into more of the individual having this power, this ability to change things. But that can only happen if each of you decide to embrace who you are. And again, it's not about, there's going to be much going on about your in different parts of the world, your governments, because there's a shift going on. Do you want freedom, or do you want autocracies, or that's what's going on, but it's energetic. If you have an energy that is of light and love, it's a higher vibrational energy, and it will transcend anything. If you have an energy, this is a different period in your world now. If you have an energy where you're just going to take for yourself, and you're just going to be that selfish and all of that, it's going to be a really hard time. And your world will still continue in the way that it has been. You are here to change that. And the only way you can change it is if you decide to love yourself and prosper. And that's the work that we have given you, because we can't settle for anything less than that. Otherwise, nothing changes in your life or in your world. Again, you don't understand the things that have been within you because they wouldn't be exciting until you discovered them. And many of you you will all go through this, and we want to talk about a little bit more. You will start to discover things, especially during this period, and then you'll start to say, wow, why didn't I know that? Your life is about experience and discovery, and it's continual. You're never done with that. You're never done with that as long as you're in any kind of form, but we're just talking about your physical form on this particular incarnation. But you're never done with that. There's always more that you can move to. And we've given you the best example of that. And so the more of you who start to understand what you can accomplish, you're going to give it to others. Do you see? When you move through your doubts and fears about who you are, you will then understand, oh, I see that person is struggling a little bit. I know that one because I've moved through it. But if you can't recognize that you've moved through it and accomplished something, you can't give anything to anyone else. So that's the mental shift that many of you must move through, because you still are operating with a little bit of shame and embarrassment. And that one, you must understand that that's one of the lower vibrational energies that you could carry, because you're not understanding that you had the experiences so you could transcend them. That is how you get to the place you're meant to be. So, but if you're denying them and judging yourself, it's a contradictory energy that you're continually adding to your life, into your world. The division that exists in your world that is the same division that exists within you. Meaning, the more that you decide to own who you are, you heal that division within you, and then you offer that to the world, and you'll see something quite different happening. We want to do something else today, because we've given you this information, and we've asked that you send in your questions, because we would like to offer them. We would like to answer them. And we didn't want to bring voices in today, because we wanted Roger to stay really present with us so that we could give you the best information without him knowing who might be asking, or what gender. We want to know none of that. We just want your questions, because we want you to understand your importance.
Okay, in order to ask a question, click on the Q&A box under Zoom control, and you can ask any question for Wilhelm. And we already have a question.
Okay.
Who were the new people who took me in last night? I have never encountered them before. Was this my soul family?
Yes. We said that you're each going to start finding people. We've given you this, that you're going to start finding your soul family, and they'll just seem magical that they just kind of show up. It's not. It's you just start noticing. And this is the period where many of you needed to come together, because it's a collaborative period. And so please just accept. If it and the energetic, because we know you did this, you felt that you knew this. So you knew this because you felt it. You felt a comfort. You felt a safety with them. And you propped each other up in that way too, because they offered this because of what was coming through them, and then you got to accept it. What a wonderful thing. And thank you for doing that. And thank them for contacting you all, because that's what happened. It's a collective experience that you're all moving through. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Next question, coming right in. This is my first time with Roger. How do I continue and learn from past teachings?
We've given you everything, and they've been really documented. Well, first of all, most things we have on our site, anyadvicefortoday.com. We have many of that. And then we have our old recordings on Wisdom from Wilhelm on YouTube. But most of you haven't heard those. And if you would go back and listen to some of those, the older ones that we have, you would hear, and it would make sense to you now, because most of you understand things in hindsight, meaning you have experiences and then you hear something later and then they make sense because you can comprehend them. And again, everything that we have given you is in our work, in our program. Let's talk about this. We gave you this work, and we called it, the philosophy that we have given you is your life operating instructions. That's the complete philosophy, and Roger's still working on putting that together. However, the program that we have given you, which is compiled of the information from that, is called your last development program. And we've given you everything in there, but now we're bringing in more. This is why we have Yarmouth. This is why we have Stan, and we're bringing in others to bring in a full collection of information that can help you move through anything. There's nothing that you can't achieve and move through with the work that we've given you. And it's all in that work, in that program. And again, Roger's not going to be able to hold this back, as we've mentioned, or he's mentioned, that he has an interview that's going to be released in a few weeks. And so his hiding out is going to be over. And then him holding back his prices will be over too, because you can't handle, he's not going to be able to handle the amount of people that might be coming in, because he has this need to really work with all of you in this more personal way. And because that's what he loves. And any of you know him, you've seen him, he's done this his entire life. However, that's a pattern that he's going to have to break to be able to handle things. And many of you will need to do, many of you have been doing service work. We want to talk about that. And you feel like you haven't been rewarded for it, or you haven't earned enough, or you don't think people should pay you what you think it's worth. That is what you're going to change, because we're giving you things to change your consciousness where you start to accept more. We need you to be abundant. You have no idea how important that is in your world now. This is why your financial institutions are going crazy. This is why people are worried about, is there going to be a recession? No, you don't have to have that if you start to prosper. And then you're going to see other things happening in your financial markets all over the world. It's happening everywhere, because more of you are supposed to have more now. The ones who are bringing in the light and love, because that's the only way your world is going to shift. The people who are up, and many of you, you know who you are. You wouldn't be listening to us if you weren't of this quality, and we know that. Or anyone who would hear us later, it's going to be the same thing. You'll understand that. But now is the time. It's a very specific time in the trajectory of your world where this wealth and income inequality needs to shift. And the only way it can shift is if you decide to accept more. And that's all that has to happen. Thank you.
Okay, the next question, quick follow-up here. What was the name of the program so I can access it?
Your last development program. Now, we want to tell you this. We want to give you the history. Well, thank you for asking that question. So we want to explain why we had Roger change the name, because we needed him to accept. First of all, he knew when we finally revealed to him that we had given him a philosophy, but we needed him to understand that he wouldn't need to do anything else, and none of you would. None of you would, because this is the thing that happens. You live in a society today where you're running around to everything else. Let me take the next thing to see if it's going to fix my brain. Let me take the next thing and see if it's going to fix my life. When the thing is within you, and if you just would stay steady and be consistent, which is why we gave you practice, patience, and persistence many years ago, to understand that if you just stay with this, you will love yourself so much. You will be astonished at what will happen. We gave you an example. One persons that did our work who stayed with it, and she was determined that she was going to stay with it because she'd been dealing with a difficulty that she could not get over. In 35 years, she couldn't get over it. She did with our work. That's why we said, this is your last development program. All you have to do is keep following through. But we will admit, but we're going to keep encouraging. We're not judging. We're just making observation that many of you start, you go so far, and then you stop. And that's old programming, because your old brain is telling you can't do something because you didn't do it before. We're saying that's not true. And we have guaranteed it. We know what you can do. And if you stay with this work, we've given you the example. This man has moved through more than many of you would ever want to experience. But the reason he got through it is because we gave him all the mindset work. That's why. And then he's starting to reverse age. We love that when nobody can understand that. But you've had many masters on your planet who have done this, but you're not paying attention to them. But that's what's happening. You can do the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And to access the program, go to yourlastdevelopmentprogram.com to find out more. The next question: is Robert Kennedy Jr., Democrat running for presidential nomination, a key leader in the coming change?
Yes, because he's bringing up differences. He's bringing up an ideology that's so separate from what his family was, which many of you are supposed to do. And see, you're going to make judgments about whether he's right or wrong of any of that. It doesn't matter. The fact is, none of you know that. You don't know the right or wrong of anything. You will only see in the results that happen. The results will be, are you putting something into the universe that's going to sustain life or all that is and make it better? Or is it going to make it something different? But the only way you can do that is to have contrast, you see. This is why your entire period, as we told you, you're going to have a lot of conflict and chaos. But that also brings unity, because the thing that sustains, the only thing that ever sustains and is eternal, is light and love. So if someone's bringing in different information, it gets you to think. It gets you to question, all of you. And then when you start questioning, you bring in more information. So, yeah, he's a part of the change. And then you're seeing these changes in many different ways. You're seeing it in your governments, in your hierarchies, and in England. We want to go back there because that's a really big one. Last year, you had the Queen of England, who was the longest running, she died. And now they're trying to reconfigure what should the new way look. Are we still going to carry a monarchy? And then they're trying to make adjustments so that it's a little bit different. That adjustment's going to continue because you're letting go of the old paradigm, you see, where you had rulers who took care of everything, who kept you in control. That's been it. You did the same thing with some of your people, too. You did it with races. You did it with genders. And all of you are here to change that. This is why you have such a diversity in some of your beings now. This is why you have gender diversity. We love that. Because now you're starting to let go of the judgments that you've had about, and especially we keep bringing up the females because we love you so much. And the females, you all have feminine and masculine energies. However, the female energy has been so lacking and you've been so put down that you didn't understand. And we just keep getting you, we want you to understand how important you are now at this particular transition in your world. And yes, the men are going to still come after you. The masculine energy will still try to keep you down. This is why you're having all these different ideas about the abortion and headscarf and chat, all of that stuff. Can we break out of that? You're seeing it all over the world. It will balance out, but it only balances out when you decide to lift the energy of your consciousness in your light, because that will change everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. And once again, to ask your question, hit the Q&A box on your Zoom controls, and I will ask the question on your behalf. Questions are coming in. Love seeing it. The next question: you have told us that the U.S. will lead the world with a heart-based economy. They have tried to bring in the Nasara/Jusara system in the past. Is this what you see coming in?
Yes, because this is not the past. It's going to take a while, but you can see the changes starting to happen. There's going to be a struggle, and you're going to see the struggle in the government, and it's coming up very soon. So thank you for that question. So we wanted you to be aware of what's happening, because you might panic. when you see the disagreements and the fights, and you're going to get to the place where the United States, for the first time in their history, might not meet their debt ceiling. They might fail on their debt. And this is a debt that you've carried for forever. Now, you'll work it out eventually, but it's going to be really crazy. And that's the shift that is trying to come through. But please understand, it's energetic. The light, the more that you can see. Okay, let's talk about the money a little bit more, because that's what this is going to be about. You use money as energy again. And those who have had so much of it over eons have always wanted to hold on to it because it gives them a sense of control and power. But you all have equal access to it. And so this is the balance, the shift that is occurring. And so the United States will be the best example because they're going to fight about this. However, other places, other countries, because you're all watching this, because just for this particular incarnation of your Earth years, the United States for the last 247 years has been the country that has led everything. And they didn't do it really well. And so now they're having a reckoning, as you all are. And this reckoning is the restructuring, which we have spoken of. So it'll get there. But see, the only thing, what will happen is what you decide to do. Each of you, please understand that it is not about them. It's about you. It's energy, and you have so much of it. And so the things that you want to see, we've given you something. We told focused attention. We gave you that many years ago. Well, it's in the work that we gave you as well. But when you understand that when you place your energy, your thoughts on something that you want to see manifest, you're directing that. Your thoughts are electromagnetic, and they will, law of attraction is real. It will start bringing that to you. It'll in your life and in your world. So the more of you who begin to focus on what you want to see, that's of light and love, you will start to manifest it. And the more of you who do that collectively, then that's what will start to happen. And we love using the thing, and many on your planet understand this, about the 144,000 who are here to do that work. We think that's much more than that, and it will be much more. But yes, we want you to understand there are only a few on your planet who have the kind of awareness that we're bringing through Roger who will cause this to happen. But you're part of that. You wouldn't be listening to us. You wouldn't be here unless you were a part of that. You'll accept it, and we will all get there, and you will change your economy. You're going to see a world, and well, not today, but soon, that's going to be far different, and that's what we're working on. So thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. And within the next 10 minutes, we would like your questions to come in, and no matter how many questions we get, Wilhelm is going to answer all of them. So please light them up, light up that Q&A button. The next question: I want to share my singing with the world and earn a living at it, but I'm unsure if I can work with the professional world. Plus, I am unsure if there are venues that will be interested in working with me.
Yes, there are. We love that question so much. You're looking at the person who thought, oh, I couldn't do this. Nobody's going to want to hear me sing. Nobody's going to want, I don't even have any skills. He thought that since he was 12 years old. And then he went and said, well, no, I've got to work through this now. I've got to do something because it's holding me back. And then every single limiting belief that he had, because it started at the same time that we began working with him in this conscious way, and then he worked through it. And then he made a huge business that people wonder, why are you leaving this? That's what happened. See, because he did that part. Yes, you can. It is only a matter of you changing your beliefs about who you are. That's all that it is. Every artist has a spot. And there are places for you to perform. We have Roger working with someone else we told them, yes, you need to be out there performing. Why are you trying to do all these other things of work that don't give you joy? And see, you brought that question up because you know that this gives you joy, and you're looking at something that you don't believe that you could achieve, and we're saying you can. Are you going to do it tomorrow? Maybe not, because you're going to have to move through the restrictions that you've created in your thinking, because they came through in your question. And so as you break them down little by little, then you're going to start to see that you'll have that place. And there's going to be a venue that's going to want you, and they're going to want you there all the time. That's what will happen. You just keep working with what you're doing and taking those steps, and you're not going to feel like you're making any progress certain days. That's what's going to happen. You're going to go back and forth. Roger did that forever. And then it came through. And then after he said, okay, well, that's it. I'm done now. We had him write an article about the reason he sold his $1 million business. That's true. He did that because that's what his business was when he finally conquered the singing thing. But he knew that the next step was to be here. You see, but you will sing in glorious places. And we're so happy. We can't wait to hear you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. Next question. How do we give young people hope during the current transition? So many have given up and are in such despair.
Thank you. Through you, you are the example. And you've been given something very specific that you're supposed to demonstrate to these kids, and you're going to do it in the way that is right for you. Whatever your situation is, you're noticing this in a certain way. And so that means that it's a part of your DNA that's awakening now, because each of you are finding things, parts of your histories, your DNA. It's what you're connected to source. That's what you all are. And so it's awakening now because the movement of the planets are causing those things to come about now. They're emerging from you. And so now you're seeing things that are awakening to your purpose. And so, wow, okay, you have something that you've thought of that you want to do with kids, that you want to do with people to inspire them. Yes, please do it. You're going to do it. And it doesn't have to be big or huge. You just have to start. But first of all, you have to get the vision. Because you have the feeling, but you just don't have the vision. Or the other things going on, you thought that, well, no, I'm not the one who's going to make that huge a difference. Yes, you are. Because you're seeing it. You're just going to have to move into a little more belief, and we keep inching you to that place. That's what we do with all of you, is inching you into more belief. It's a step-by-step process. But yes, and we're so pleased that you're seeing that, because that's what's going to change your world. When you start working with the kids, the younger people, that's going to accelerate this planetary ascension. And so we're so happy that you're taking it. And we know you don't understand exactly what that's going to be right now, but we've given you this now, and you will see it. It's going to start to emerge in your consciousness. You're going to think about it. It's going to come out, and one day you're going to look at it and go, oh, that's what it was. Thank you.
Thank you for that. The next question coming in, I need to preface. I have to modify very slightly so that it doesn't trigger YouTube algorithms. So forgive me to the person who is listening to my question being asked. Here it is. Will we find a way to help people who may have been injured from vaccines? Currently, human health is becoming so poor with cancers, heart attacks, infertility, sudden adult death syndrome, and other conditions which have become so much more common in the past few years. Where will these technologies to help come from?
From you? That's where they come from. Okay. Let's go back to the premise here. You are in physical bodies. And so you use different things when you come into incarnations to cause your physical bodies to sustain and thrive while you're in the physical world. You each do that in different ways. We have told you, in the beginning of Roger's life, he didn't do any kinds of vaccines or any of those things because that was part of the religion that he grew up. But then he went through many other periods where he needed to do those because his ascension into who he could be hadn't reached a place where he could get over certain diseases. Many people in your world have that. You've had this since the beginning of time. And we've talked about this. You have, as your civilizations come together, you have a shared genes and energies that sometimes when they mix together, and you mix with the animals as well, you create things. Now, the way that you can move through them, sometimes you use medicines and vaccines, or you use your mind. And each one will make your own choice. There's no right or wrong here. You see, because Roger has used all those things, but now he healed so many that no one could understand how he was doing that. But that was also the raising of his consciousness. And the last thing we had him do was heal his plantar, we might have spoken of this, his plantar fasciitis, which he was about to have surgery on. We said, no, you don't need that. If you start walking on your feet, you'll be okay. It's the same for many people. However, what you're seeing and what you're being drawn to means that there's some place in there for you to work in a way that's going to sustain something that is personal to you, and doing it in a way where you're honoring your life path and not making others wrong, because none of you know what is right or wrong. You just have to honor what feels right to you. The energy is far more important than anything your physical bodies do. We gave you a message in our work in 2012 talking about your physical body. Yeah, you might resolve some things in the physical realm, but healing only occurs in the spiritual realm. You're only in these bodies for a while, you see, but your soul is eternal. And so but we're so happy you brought that up, because that has been so much of the division and hatred and anger and things that you've had in your world, because you're not understanding that you're each supposed to do something that is right for your journey. And you can't know what's right necessarily for anyone else, but you can know what feels right to you. And if it feels right to you and it's uplifting, give it to others. It'll be the same for them. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much for that question. And this looks like will be the final question for the session. And the last question is, what is a good practice you would recommend for us to do each night before we sleep to help us release old patterns and programs?
Well, there's so many things. We have, sometimes each of you will find your own way. Okay. We've had Roger do it in the morning, you see, because then when he goes to sleep at night and he has all the other stuff going on, in the morning you let go of that and he's a little more clear. And so now he's in a higher state of vibration in the morning if he does his meditation, and we had him right for all of that. And so now he's moving through his day with a whole different level of awareness. Some of you might want to do it at night. And so if you're going to do it at night, then put into your thought, meditate, do the same thing, put in some mantras of the things that you want to have occur in your life. But the consistency is the thing that's going to make the difference. That's what you each need to understand. We're working through your neuroscience, you see. And so if you use consistency, you get a much better result. So whatever you find, if you can find a routine that you'll stay with, that'll be great. But at night, that's perfect. The other thing that we gave many of you, because you go to bed with a lot of stuff in your head of what you got to get done, because you never get everything done, So we said, just write down 5 things at night and just think about that, put it away and just go to sleep. Next morning, you'll get up, you'll look at the 5 things and you'll see what you want to do. Your life feels much different because you're not overwhelmed. So, but what you can do from what we're hearing from your question is that, yes, then for you, the night would be so much better because there's something going on with your sleep that's not being conducive to your development. So yes, take some mantras of what you want to see, some affirmations, some nice, give yourself a little nice bath or something that you can go to sleep, a candle, anything that's going to make it seem so surreal. And then put those affirmations in your brain, in your thinking, go over them, and then go to sleep. That would be wonderful for you. Thank you so much.
And right on time, we are complete with questions.
We would like to thank you all for being here. And again, as we said, we will give you we're telling you now, because we're going to do something on May 5th. It's another movement, and many of you might know, but it's going to be a powerful movement for the work that we're bringing in. So we'll alert you all to that as well. Thank you so much for being here. We can't thank you enough for the contribution you're making to yourself and your world. And you haven't understood that, but we're going to get you to understand that. We love you so much. Thank you.
I haven't done anything like this.
It's increased the confidence that I've had in myself.
Everything is better. I mean, every single aspect of my life. My income, the progress is just amazing. Like, you can see changes from week to week.
Introducing your last development program, Life Transformation for Success, the newest part of Roger Burnley's coaching series. In this 3-month online program, you will learn the mindset tools you need to dissolve the shame of your past, discover the gifts within you that make you important to the world, and get the confidence to rise above anything that stands between you and the life that you want.
Everything changed in my life. Everything. Every single thing.
It's time for you to reprogram your mind for success and become self-actualized. If you're ready to transform your life too, learn more at yourlastdevelopmentprogram.com today.